Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to B-Movie Theater. Or rather, I should say welcome myself back, since I've lazily forgotten to do this. Due to all my projects and other stuff that I've been doing, I have kind of neglected B-Movie Theater, so I thought I'd come back with a vengeance with 10 movies to talk about. Now, I'm not going to get into the straight logistics. I'm just going to tell you guys, stories and whether I, recommend them or not. First up, of course, is one that I've had since Christmas, which is Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. And the basic plot of this is that Mars has kidnapped Santa in order to have him bring toys to all the boys and girls of Mars because they've been watching so much Earth television that they've been basically acting really weird, which is just the Christmas spirit, as all children do. This movie was very cheaply made. And it is rightfully so a B-movie. And I believe this was made in the 70s, if I remember correctly. Like the mid to late 60s, early 70s. Do I actually recommend this? Yes, I actually do recommend this. This is a great, very lighthearted... It's a very lighthearted Santa Claus type story. And it's one that really doesn't take itself too seriously. So I definitely recommend that. However, here's a movie that has become actually one of my favorites, which is Donovan's Brain. Now, this isn't so much horrific as it is just more tense, is more thriller and suspenseful in origin, and it's actually based on a 1943 novel. And the whole point is that this scientist, there's like a plane crash, and this evil, ruthless businessman named Donovan, his brain is put in this tank so that the scientists can prove to the medical community that, a brain can be brought back from death or be sustained. Well, one of the freaky deaky side effects is that the brain comes alive and it starts growing and growing. Not to ginormous proportions, but it basically starts to gain telepathic powers and slowly starts taking control of the scientist, making him do his dirty work. The special effects and everything in this movie were actually very well done. My only beef is that this movie didn't seem to really, I guess the word that I can use is build the suspense up that well. It was just a lot of like ho-hum, oh, I'm going to rule the world type mentality. And eventually the brain actually starts making people shoot themselves and so on and so forth. And the way the movie ends is just laughable with, divine intervention from God striking a lightning bolt and destroying the brain and burning it like a piece of hamburger meat. Very hilarious in my opinion, but I definitely recommend this to all my sci-fi B-movie fans. And we move on to yet another movie, The Brain That Wouldn't Die, or rather, as it was originally called, The Head That Wouldn't Die. And this one I actually like too, because it's about this lady who, her fiancé has been trying to do a Frankenstein monster type experiment with basically being able to revolutionize the world of transplants. That you can take somebody who could be decapitated, keep their head alive, and be able to transplant onto a new body without need of the body rejecting it. And so this lady apparently, as a side effect of this special chemical, gains telepathic powers as well, but she is telepathically linked to a monster that we do not see until the very end of the movie. And I will not show you a picture of what the monster looks like. All I'm going to say is, take the Marvel supervillain Absorbing Man, the Toxic Avenger, B-movie actor Tor Johnson, and, an African-American actor Tiny Lester, and have them all have a gay orgy, and yeah, that's what this creature looks like. If you don't believe me, you can look online or you can watch the movie itself, but either way, I actually recommend this because it had a very good pacing to it. And they really kind of build up the suspense for when we finally see this creature. And it's got one or two bloody parts, but it's a pretty good B-movie. I definitely strongly recommend this to B-movie fans. Now, the next one that I talk about will be a film from the 80s. Yes, I'll be talking about the movie Chud next. Now, Chud was a very interesting movie. I went into this kind of thinking that it was going to be one of these hardcore gore fest films, but surprisingly the plot line is very simplistic and it makes you think. Basically, all the homeless in New York are going missing. And we come to find out that the government for years, underneath the sewer lines of New York, have actually been dumping radioactive waste, and of course the homeless, they found this radioactive chemicals and they thought that it was like ice cream or something. I don't know. But pretty much they ingest the radioactivity, and as you can tell by this picture here, they become pretty much like these subterranean anthropomorphic type monsters that can stretch their necks out, they can rip flesh like it's Velcro. Pretty much this movie is a very stereotypical like 80s horror film. But it's a very weird one, but it's also a pretty awesome one, so I will definitely also recommend this to all the 80s horror fans. Pretty interesting movie. Very thought-provoking. But one that I'm going to talk about that I have a deep passion and love for is Chillerama, which actually came out last year. This was actually a horror movie that went straight to DVD last year. And I put this in B-Movie Theater because it's an anthology series that pays homage in the respect of stuff like Creepshow and Tales from the Crypt. And it features 4 B-movies done by 4 different directors as a love and homage for each genre. The black and white era, the atomic era films, so on and so forth. And and it's just laughable because the whole movie takes place in a movie drive-in. And then we come to find out at the very end of this film that it in fact is a film all in itself. And I have nothing but good things. I could do a whole entire video explaining why I love Chillerama so much, and even F.W. Waller can join me in the fun on this. But all in all, guys, I highly, highly recommend Chillerama, but one word of warning. It is not rated. It is unrated, so there's going to be a lot of stuff in there that, shall we say, is going to be kind of taboo if you want to use that terminology. But I'll talk about that maybe later. I might do a review. I might do a review if you guys want me to. But anyway, the pictures are going by really fast here. So next I'm going to talk about the Wasp Woman. I absolutely love this. The whole plot is that this quote-unquote queen bee of this, cosmetic industry, she basically is starting to get older, and apparently she's like the head model. So this scientist who's been studying with, I guess you can say the reverse aging effects in, Queen Wasp's like jelly. Sorry about that. In Queen Wasp's jelly, and it's supposed to have like anti-aging effects. Like it basically, like the guy demonstrates for her that, oh yeah, you can turn, an old dog into like a puppy. And he gives her like these small doses because it was not tested on humans. Well, as you can see by these pictures, she basically decides to take matters into her own hands, and she becomes basically a humanoid monster that goes around killing people and drinking their blood like a vampire. And I'm not going to tell you the ending, but let's just say that it's probably one of the most laughable, that it had me absolutely in tears laughing. So I actually recommend Wasp Woman just because it's a great fun B-movie. And here's a movie I'm going to talk about that is not really so much a horror movie in my opinion, which is Dead Heat. This is another 80s film. And this plays more like an action comedy, like a buddy cop like action movie, in the respect of like 48 Hours and so on and so forth. And all it does is that it just has like a zombie deal in it. Pretty much the whole plot, if you even want to call it that, is that 2 cops investigate this pharmaceutical company. One of them dies, and apparently they find out that this pharmaceutical company is actually a front for a resurrection factory, that they are making criminals into zombies. And that basically they're testing this to see if they can bring themselves back. Like basically old people will never die. Almost the whole like, immortality deal. And yeah, the actual cop that's a zombie has, I think, like 10 or 12 hours to live or something like that. I don't even remember the plot. But probably one of the most infamous scenes of this movie, and you can find it here on YouTube, is that there's what I call the chop shop scene. It's not like a car chop shop, but like a butcher shop where everything comes back to life. And pretty much it has probably the funniest line, which is, They're fighting a beef carcass and they're like, how do we kill it? I don't know, drown it in A1 sauce or something like that. Look it up on YouTube if you will. I'm kind of iffy. That really depends on you. If you wanna watch it, then go ahead and watch it. Now I move on to a movie that I dread talking about, but I gotta talk about it, which is Final Sacrifice. And I found this while watching Mystery Science Theater 3000. The basic plot, if you even want to call it that, is that apparently this evil cult, who are only dressed in ski masks, black tank tops, and black pants, are trying to resurrect a lost city and bring all hell on earth. And this movie was completely shot in Canada. But it's not the worst movie, or rather, at least it's not as bad as this. Good God! Who thought of putting him in a pink bikini? Just seriously. Okay, anyway, try to stomach this as I go on. And apparently the lead cultist is a guy who tries to, I guess, look like The Undertaker back in the old days of the WWE. Back when Hulk Hogan was reigning champion, for those of you who are wrestling fans. And the basic plot is that this kid named Zap is trying to figure out his father's murder while avoiding these cultists, and a guy named Rousdower, I'm not making this up, these are the fucking characters' names, is a former cultist who apparently killed his dad, and he's trying to help him. And I could go on, but I'm not going to make anybody retarded, including myself, so all I'm going to say is, stay the hell away from this movie as much as you can. Don't even look at it. Watch Zardoz if you need to, but do not watch Final Sacrifice. But, moving on to a better movie, The Beginning of the End. And you would think, this is going to be a great one, and this is actually also the beginning of the end of this review, guys. So, what is the beginning of the end? Well, I thought it was going to be like an alien plot device. Oh, no. This black and white 50s era movie is about... You want to guess it? Anybody want to take a guess? Fucking giant killer grasshoppers. I don't think I need to say anything more other than that. Giant killer grasshoppers. How did they come up with this stuff? Good God, did they discover pot in the 50s? I really want to know. And then we move on to a movie that I feel very ashamed in having to talk about. And as you can see by the title here, yes, Bela Lugosi, Dracula himself, starred in a horrendous movie that I can only imagine was probably made by Ed Wood, or he had a hand in, called The Corpse Vanishes. Apparently, Bela Lugosi plays a botanist whose wife is aging, and so he basically, I don't know how, but basically through medical means, uses an orchid, kills brides on their wedding day, and sorry, Bela Lugosi in a coffin. Anyway, he steals them on their wedding day, and pretty much he takes their, I guess, like corpse or whatever you want to call it, and he drains the youthful enzymes out of them and gives it to his wife, and supposedly she becomes young and beautiful again. And I couldn't really understand this movie. If you guys are willing to sit through it and watch it, kudos to you, but I could not understand a damn thing about this movie. Other than, I think the only reason that this movie was made was simply because it was Bela Lugosi and they wanted to try to get Dracula fans in there. Kind of like how every action movie or so has Sam Worthington. Not going to get into that right now. Anyway, guys, these are actually the 9 or 10 B movies that I wanted to talk about. I hope, at least for the most part, that you guys moderately enjoyed these. and that you'll check these out. Except for Final Sacrifice. Please, dear God, do not check out Final Sacrifice.